Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And on this episode of Sonar Fishing, let's talk about the differences between a traditional walking style hollow body frog and a poppin' hollow belly frog. Both of these can be fished in a lot of the same situations. So there's a lot of overlapping situations you can fish both of these, but there's also some situations where one is going to be better than the other. So just wanted to kind of go over those slight differences and when I like to use one over the other. And so let's start off with the physical differences between these, which are actually pretty easy. So these right here, this is part of the Leapfrog series from Z-Man. They've got both a walk-in style, okay? So you've got the narrower, more pointy nose on it. It's designed to be walked back and forth. And then you've got the poppin' frog that has this concave mouth on it. And so this is more designed for, staying in one place for a little bit longer. It still walks from side to side, and because it has that concave mouth, it's a little less streamlined. It doesn't go through cover quite as well. And Z-Man makes these Leapfrogs in both a 2 1/4 size, which is what these are, and a 2.75. Got to be honest, the 2.75 is generally what I'm going to be fishing most of the time. But if I feel like I need to downsize, the 2.25 is actually a pretty good size. So let's talk about the differences as far as the situations you want to use one over the other. So let's start with the walking frog. So a walking frog is probably the most used design overall for a hollow body frog, because it's very, very versatile. I'd say of the two, it's the most versatile because you can fish it, like a popper. You can cast it underneath overhanging trees, docks, and, around vegetation. You can cast it over dense vegetation like matted grass and things like that. And so there's a lot that you can do with this bait. And the traditional way of fishing this, if you're not fishing over mats, if you're fishing it over a dense grass mat or cheese mat, the algae mat, you're not going to be, walking the dog with it. You're essentially just pulling it forward. And but if you're fishing it in open water, casting it around cover or underneath cover or something like that, you're essentially going to be walking the dog with it. So hence the name, the walking version kind of name of this. So this bait will walk side to side. The one thing that it doesn't do very well, as well as the poppin' frog, is it doesn't stay in place. It tends to be pulled forward because it doesn't have that concave mouth to create that drag. So it actually, if you're not very careful and you don't know how to put the right amount of slack in the line, it will move forward. So it's really good for fishing, for moving very quickly, trying to make a lot of presentations and a lot of different water. So just covering water in general, the walking bait or the walking frog is a really, really good choice. So to kind of recap, very versatile as far as the walking frog. It's really good around all different types of cover. It's really good for covering water. So you can fish it in place, but it's better if you're just covering water, walking the dog real fast, or even fishing, over grass mats, dense mats. Now, talking about the poppin' frog. Poppin' frog, by design, is made to be a very similar bait to a traditional popper, like this one right here. Let me get this out here. So the old style popper, this is a bait that's been around for a very long time. It's caught a lot of fish, but the only limitation to it is that it has treble hooks. It's not good around cover. It's not good in cover, and it just snags a lot. Okay, so that's the popper is very, very good, but it's just not great around cover. So the poppin' frog is kind of a replacement, an alternative to a regular popper, but in a hollow body frog type profile. And that allows you to fish it in and around cover very, very well. So you can skip this underneath overhanging trees. You can cast it around like any type of vegetation. You can cast it underneath docks. And so you can fish it in a lot of the same cover that you can with the walking frog. But where this frog excels is when you're trying to keep this in the strike zone for a very long time. So situations where the fish are not willing to go long distances or chase baits that are moving very quickly, the poppin' frog is a really, really good option for those scenarios. One situation that really pops out when it comes to the poppin' frog is during the spring, during the spawn. This is my favorite of the two different styles for when I'm fishing for spawning fish, because when bass get on the bed, they become locked in on just that one area that's about the size of their bed. They're protecting that area. And so you don't want a bait that gets out of that strike zone. It gets away from that bed very quickly. You want one that stays stationary. It just kind of walks right over that bed. And that's where a popping frog really excels. Okay, so, and that's not the only situation, but that's just the best example I can give you. But if you think that the fish are not willing to chase a bait, and they really, just kind of want that bait in their strike zone in their area for a long period of time, the poppin' frog is great. Now, one place that the poppin' frog really does not excel is heavy vegetation, because that mouth is going to constantly grab vegetation, and it's just not as streamlined. This is going to come over a grass way better than this is going to come through grass. And so this is not a good choice for fishing over matted vegetation. Now, I say that, but there are certain situations where you've got maybe topped out hydrilla or milfoil, but there's still water around it. It's not like you don't have the topped out grass and then a layer of what we call cheese or algae. It's just you can see the water just kind of permeating that grass mat. And in that situation, a poppin' frog actually probably work pretty decent. It wouldn't be a bad choice for that. Another situation is duckweed. If you're faced with duckweed, this bait actually works great in duckweed. And duckweed is essentially a little tiny floating type of vegetation that creates these what looks like a dense grass mat, but it's really just a thin layer of that cover, that grass. And a poppin' frog works really good in duckweed, let me tell you. I've done very well. I had a tournament on Pickwick one year. I was back in the back of Coffee Slough throwing this poppin' frog, and just had a blast catching fish with it. Caught like 18 pounds or something like that. Wasn't enough to win, but it was a lot of fun to go catch them on a poppin' frog like that. But the reason why I like the poppin' frog in duckweed is because it as you work it, it spits that duckweed in front of it. And so it kind of pushes that duckweed away. And so you have this like little opening in front of it where it creates open water for this bait to kind of walk back and forth and spit. And that's something that the traditional walking frog doesn't do as well. So those are the only matted grass situations that I like to throw the poppin' frog over the walking bait. But yeah, so those are the primary differences between the traditional walking style frog, which really truly is the traditional hull body frog, and the poppin' frog, which is essentially kind of a replacement for a popper in heavy cover situations. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think of of my opinions on the differences between these two baits. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you use them in different situations? I want to know in the comment section below. And also, if you guys want to support this channel, there's a few things that you can do. Number one, you can ask questions, which I love because it helps me come up with new content ideas. And I like to do videos on my viewers' questions. So drop a comment below with a question. Another way to support this channel is you can go use the affiliate links in the description below, which not only give you 10% off of the products that I talk about in this video, but it gives me a little bit it back and help support this channel. And also, you can support this channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and obviously sharing these videos with your friends. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you out on the water. Take care.